I tell patients, because I consider myself an empowered patient, an educated patient. I tell patients, look at your doctor like a consultant in a business. You hire
Mm-hmm.
consultants, come in, analyze what you see, give us your feedback, and then the people that own the business make the final decisions. But it's the other way around when you talk about patient-doctor relationships. Patients abdicate that power that they have, and they make the consultant the owner of the company, consultant in this case being the doctor. Listen to what the doctor has to say, but what they say is merely their knowledge base of what they know, imparting it on you. You, at the end of the day, decide whether you take that medication, whether you do the things that they want you to do as far as like a surgery. You're the one that makes that choice. And yet people, they just willingly hand over all of that power to the doctors.
And I think we work in this system, especially within the medical system, that there's a lot of hopelessness, right? Like, I don't know if you hear this all the time, Jimmy. I don't know what the deal is with 60, but I keep hearing that, well, you're almost 60, you're just old, or you're 60, you're old. Like, it's like our whole life just goes downhill. It's like you're just getting older. I had people in their 30s. Well, my doctor says I'm getting older, and I'm like, you're 30. Like, what?
You know what that is? That is them checking out.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it that way, but a lot of medical professionals, that's a fallback on when they don't know answers. And they don't know answers because they don't have a totality approach, a functional medicine, holistic kind of approach of everything, of root causes of what's going on. And that's the frustrating part for patients, because a lot of patients have to rely on what the doctor is saying, and they trust it. I mean, look at the last 2 years. This has all been based on basically, let's trust what the doctors are saying. And yet what the doctors say sometimes doesn't make sense.
No. And I want to say two quick stories to encourage people as they're listening to this. I fired my doctor at 20. It didn't come from a place of ego. I know better. I was 20. I didn't know what I was doing. I actually went to a chiropractor, a doctor of chiropractic, and that's what set me on this path, right? Where he told me my body was created to heal itself. I can get better. I just got to find out the cause. And when I fired my doctor, it was out of desperation. If I had not fired my doctor, I walked in the next doctor. This guy didn't really spend like a lot of time with me, but I walked in as a 20-year-old. I said, this is what's going on. I did this research on my own, and I would like to try this. I read that someone said that you do this, natural desiccated thyroid hormone. That's what I want to try, and I would like to get blood work. He goes, okay, tell me your symptoms. Okay, yeah, we can do that. Let's do it. We'll follow up. And it was so different for me versus someone else telling me that, like, oh, no, everything's fine. So I'm 20 years old, not right now. I know I look like it, but
you look so 20.
Thank you. But I did it. You can. And the second thing I want to share is that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert, but you are an expert on your body.
Yes.
You've lived in there for decades. You know that something doesn't feel right. You know this isn't what it felt like to live in your body. And this is the story I want to share. My father had suffered a brain aneurysm like 9 years ago now. All the nurses were amazing, the doctors. But one really eye-opening thing that happened was when we arrived, my sister and I arrived, they gave us a sheet every day of all the drugs he was on. And we're like, wow, this is a lot of drugs. And all we did is we just asked questions. We weren't mean about it. We were like, hey, we want to know what this is for. We'd like to know what this is for. Well, if this is for this, does he need to be on both of it? By the end of the week, he was on 10 different medications. By the end of the week, they're like, oh, no, actually, he doesn't need this. Oh, actually, yeah, since he's taking, by the end of the week, he was on 3 or 4. And it was so shocking for us because we didn't know the drugs. We weren't doing it in a way to be like, we know more. He was in ICU, right, in neuro ICU. It was just we having a conversation and them taking a moment to look again and say, actually, we don't need to do this. Just having questions in conversations, and no one should ever make you feel bad because you're asking questions about your health.
Right. And unfortunately, I think a lot of, especially older doctors, they don't like the internet because it has basically empowered a lot of people with information that then they come to the doctor. Now, yes, there's people that are smug when they go see their doctor.
Yeah.
Don't be smug. Be confident. Print out studies. Studies mean more than an article on some random page that you read. But yeah, we can be educated and not have a background in medicine. And I liken myself to that as well. It's like I'm very educated in a lot of things about health, but I don't pretend like I know more than my doctor, but I say, hey, have you heard about this? And I remember talking to a PA, a physician assistant one time about nutrient deficiencies and how they could have been contributing to something I was dealing with. And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Tell me more. Like she wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So just go in with the mindset of maybe you will teach your doctor or PA or nurse something that they haven't heard before. So maybe the next patient gets to benefit from that new knowledge.
Exactly.
Did you go keto and thought you had to give up wine? Well, let me introduce you to Dry Farm Wines. It is the world's first sugar-free alcohol that is lower than your typical wines, organic, made at local farms that do it the right way. Most of the wines that you buy are from 3 really big companies, loaded with additives and preservatives, so many dozens of those kinds of things. You don't want all that junk in your wine. So go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and they will ship you these wines. And just because you listen to this podcast, Dry Farm Wines is going to give you a bottle in your first order for just 1 cent. Go to dryfarmwines.com/Jimmy and you will get your bottle of wine for just 1 singular penny. Go check them out. Dry Farm Wines, you guys. It's wine o'clock somewhere. Let's go get some wine.
You gotta understand that, like, you deserve to be respected. You know, one of my most recent posts, I was very shocked how much people were commenting on it. I got messages, then people reposted it, and I read those comments. It was a mug. Yep. Please do not confuse your Google search with my medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
And the reason why that pissed me off, just because the mug pisses me off, but it was because it's from a thyroid surgeon, right?
Yeah.
And my specialty is dealing with people post-thyroidectomy that have suffered. I mean, you would understand how many women are crying like, oh my gosh, you understand, it's not all in my head. And so here's this doctor that's telling you to not, like, you can Google search PubMed, Science Daily, Scientific American, or do DuckDuckGo or whatever. Alternative, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's wild to me. What does it cause you to have a conversation with someone? And then someone commented that they were like, well, there's dangerous information out there, especially in Facebook groups. But yeah, but when your doctor shuts you down and does not allow for conversation, then people are looking in other places for answers. And I will tell you that there's a website called Stop the Thyroid Madness. It's ran by patients, right?
Janie Bowthorpe.
Mm-hmm.
I had her on my podcast over a decade ago talking about this.
Her website is, and it wasn't research based. It wasn't like, well, now it's completely different than what I came across. Like it's been 16 years. So, but it was like, oh, I saw these people that said, I felt X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I feel that way. And they're like, and this is what I did. And I'm like, I'm going to go do that. And then I started getting into the studies and it was proven, but the information, we should be able to have this discussion, especially when it comes to the thyroid. Let me go and tell you, just because they're endocrinologists doesn't mean they know anything about how to help you with your thyroid. I've seen OBGYNs give more help to women I've worked with than the endocrinologists that they're seeing. The biggest thing is this: be well informed, trust yourself, like trust what you know is, you feel off in your body, and find someone that you can have a conversation with. And then the final thing I'll say is, we know that these doctors, they have their specialty. We're living in a world that you can work virtually. Like I work virtually with clients. There's so many there's people out there that you then hire on into your team to be what real health is. Get down to the cause, how to support your body for healing, how to remove stressors. Don't expect that from your doctor. If you're on a medication, go to the doctor. You need to do tests, do that. But assemble a team around you.
Which is why I think functional medicine clinics are the hottest growth kind of in the medical industry right now. And a lot of them doing online consultations, kind of like what you do in your business. Again, if you joined late, guys, Dr. Rebecca Warren is who's here today. Dr. Rebecca Warren over on Instagram. But you don't have a thyroid anymore. It was completely taken out because of the cancer. I assume all the cancer stayed away and everything's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is gone. Yeah, like I mean, I don't have any thyroid gland, and and this is the crazy thing about thyroid cancer. I want to make sure people understand is that number one, you will feel fine. A majority of the people I talk to, even in my own experience, you'll feel fine and sit in your doctor's office and see, here you have thyroid cancer, right? Most people don't even know what a thyroid is or where it's located when they say this or say that they have a problem, right? And then, you know, the second thing that's really crazy about thyroid cancer is, you know, the one test that we have right now is like the needle biopsy, going and getting cells. But a majority of the time when they pull out cells, it'll be inconclusive or they're not quite sure for so many patients. But you know what they still recommend? Just cut it out. No, they say cut it out. Oh no, they just cut it out. Like just get rid of it.
Wow.
They don't even like give like a treatment option, which is crazy to me because they're like, it's a sort of, just cut it out and then we'll do tests. And I've had people come back and be like, oh, they didn't show any cancer in it, but they said it's still a good thing because the thyroid would have kept growing. How wild is that? Think about, I think you have brain cancer. Let's cut off a piece of your brain to see, oh, there's nothing there. It's fine. And that's what's happening with thyroid cancer right now.
Brooke just said, this was me. That's what they did to her. Yeah.
And you don't hear about it. People don't talk about it until you're there. And then when you're there, when you get that, cancer treatment, then it's fear. It's fear. Because first of all, you hear the C word, which is why I appreciate so much the work that Dr. Nikki Forov is doing. Because you hear cancer and all you keep thinking is, well, there's no other option. You have to cut it out. They don't tell you change how you eat. They don't tell you detox. They don't tell you this is what comes about it. This is other tests, nutrients, iodine deficiency or too much. They don't tell you anything, but you have cancer and you got to cut it out. So out of fear, which you should never make medical decisions out of fear or hopelessness, but out of fear, you go through with it. And most people don't fully understand what they just went through until years down the road. And then they're sitting in consults with me crying like, I just didn't know and I didn't understand, but this is the only option I had.
So Rebecca, educate me a little bit because we know type 1 diabetes is, say, an autoimmune of the pancreas. It doesn't make insulin anymore. So now you become insulin dependent. If they take your whole thyroid out, like you're forced, like a type 1 diabetic needing insulin, you're forced to have to take exogenous sources of the natural desiccated pig thyroid. What's that? Armor, I guess, is one of the name brands.
Armor, West P, West Thyroid. There's a few different options. Yeah.
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 So is that a necessity? Once the thyroid is removed, you have to take this the rest of your life because the body can't make thyroid hormone anymore.
It doesn't have the tissue. It's not. Yeah. No. And the problem too is that, so we have more information on people that are living without insulin, right? With thyroid, there aren't any long-term studies. People aren't looking into it because you're not dead. You haven't like died, you're fine, you're cancer-free. They don't look into it further. But the same way, and this is for like, let's say you get your thyroid cut out, or let's say you have a Hashimoto's for so long that the thyroid tissue is destroyed, right? Yes. What they do is put you on one dose and send you on your way. And that's it. And it's like, but this thyroid is so dynamic. It releases more thyroid hormones, less thyroid hormones. Some seasons you're more stressed out. You need more help. If you lose weight, you need less. It's this ebb and flow that you're not taught. And for me, it's been 16 years. Every 5 years, it just happened recently. It's like a reset where I get on a thyroid med, and this can happen to people with Hashimoto's, people that are in long-term use of thyroid. It's hormesis. You're meant to change things up. What ends up happening is every 5 years, I'll be on a medication. It works. And I see this with people that have been living with this long-term, 10, 20, 30 years. I've worked with people, so many different backgrounds. But for me, 5-year mark, it stops working. It's as if my body doesn't respond to the medication and I got to start over and dosing and stuff.
Is it an adaptation thing that's causing that? What's going on there?
I think it is an adaptation thing. I think the body, I don't fully know.